SMTN.
How's it going, everybody? And welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 265. I'm your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me on this extra Krilly cast episode of the SMTN podcast is Chris of the Krillcast.
What? This is a Halo podcast. That's what you told me.
Listen, Season 2 info just dropped. We've got at least 3 hours of trailer footage, a mode leaked. I'm sure there's lots of things we could complain about.
Yeah, and I can't complain about Shin Megami Tensei right now, though, so there's that. Other than some of the choices Atlus has made with physical editions.
Oh yeah, listen, yeah, if you Atlus fans ever think you have it rough, just tiptoe over to the Halo Infinite community. They're sitting over there eating table scraps all day.
Well, I just saw Hidden Xperia saying he's going to start playing Elden Ring and discussing other content on his channel, which is like, whoa! But anyways, that's not what we're here for. So let's move on.
I figured, Chris, I've begged to come on your show at least 9,000 times now, so it was only fair that I finally begged you to come on my show. But in case anyone out there isn't aware, who are you and what is the Krillcast?
So I am the main, but also co-host to Will of the Krillcast podcast, daily news videos or whatever the heck I feel like making that day. And then we do a podcast on the weekends. Little less planned ahead than it used to be. But we're going to get back to more planned ahead and professional sounding content here in the near future because my work schedule will be changing again and be more open to that kind of stuff. But right now it's basically a free-for-all podcast on the weekend. And when I get around to it, daily news videos. That's what we're doing as of right now.
So... right now,
not Shin Megami Tensei or anything specific. It's kind of generic video game, whatever I feel like covering news.
Otherwise known as 99% of what I talk about on this show.
What'd you say? Sorry.
I said just like 99% of everything I talk about on this show.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Siri decided to jump in and block out everything else that was going on. So, I got to remember to tell Siri to go away.
Thank you, Siri. I appreciate that.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's been a while since we kind of caught up. But I know you've been really busy and stuff with work and everything. But what have you been playing recently? When you do have the time to not eat, sleep, talk to your children, or be at work, if you ever are able to fit time into game, what are you up to? Because like the last time we talked, you were still in your Metroid marathon.
I am still kind of in the Metroid marathon. I just spent way too much money on upgrading my Super Nintendo video quality, and I'm going to be restarting Super Metroid here in the near future whenever I get time to start doing that live stream again. But I've actually been working towards the Platinum Trophy on Persona 4 Golden. I'm like 2 away now. And the one you said good luck with is one of the 2, the Ultimate Rosette fan. And then the other one is beating Margaret, which I'm just literally grinding all of my personas up to infinity so I can actually beat her.
I mean, everybody who has touched at least Golden, I think, can appreciate / be horrified at the monumental task that is trying to get
insane.
The hardcore reset fan trophy, because that is just absolutely brutal.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to do a 5th playthrough to get that one. That'll be basically rotating in and out party members and not talking to Rise until later on. Because if you upgrade her support too far, you miss like 50 to 100 lines.
So now here's the weird question I just thought about. There's no internal tracking for that trophy, right? So I'm assuming if you ever really want that and you hate yourself, you just have to have a spreadsheet of every line she said, right? Or does it just kind of feel like at random almost?
I think somebody has already went through the painstaking process of creating that spreadsheet.
It's like that's like that's a platinum I would like one day, but I just know I feel guilty like playing like games that are like low on the totem pole for what I know I should be covering. And like right now I'm like, man, I really got to get back to Elden Ring. But Lego Star Wars is pretty fun.
Yeah, actually, Lego Star Wars is a lot of fun. That's one of the best Star Wars games out there.
It's been very weird, especially because of how long that kind of took to come out. Of like, I always had that like weird thought in my head, and I'm like, man, I really hope TT Games doesn't like blow this, because like they'd been working on it for so long. What was like funny actually is a little tangent. I went back to the reveal trailer. Do you remember when they revealed this game?
Actually, I have no idea when this game was revealed. I've only seen the gameplay since it was released.
E3 2019 it was revealed. There was no gameplay, but they did have a behind closed doors demo. So this game was announced before Rise of Skywalker was even out.
Oh, I mean, they're lucky that that movie did better than Episode 8 then.
Did Episode 9 do better than Episode 8? I thought Episode... Oh, man, yeah. We can't jump into the Episode 8 versus 9 comparison for it. But what I thought was...
But box office-wise, I do believe 9 did better.
So what was funny about it was it was released... It was originally planned for just 2020. It was the release date. People then thought, oh, maybe like spring, summer, fall, or whatever. To then look at us now, skip ahead almost 3 years, of April 2022. Like, I'm like, there's got to be an amazing story about what the hell happened to that development house, because it's like, when you play it, it's clearly their most ambitious game they've ever made, but it's also a game you could have probably beat in less than 15 hours. So it's not like it's this like infinite wealth of like content or whatever, but it is one of those funny things of like, I bet there was more of a production drama than like we took 3 years to make 9 movies.
Yeah, probably some development hell going on there. Hey, I got a question for you, because I know that this is something that pertains to you. Did you hear what Warner Brothers recently said about Lord of the Rings?
No, I'm trying to think. No, because everything I've heard recently about Lord of the Rings would just all be the Amazon stuff. What'd they say?
So Will and I were getting into like what could Lord of the Rings do to make a comeback in like gaming. There's a podcast we did a while back, and this was like right at the tail end of the podcast, and we were kind of sad we didn't invite you ahead of time because we forgot.
Well, you know, I was just going to talk about the Golem game for 3 hours.
Yeah, well, that's probably true. But right at the end, we were like, didn't Warner Brothers' contract run out? And we found an article that had just come out where they said Warner Brothers was recently asked about the loss of Lord of the Rings. Said, what? What are you talking about? We still got it. We're producing a Lord of the Rings anime. Like, what? Lord of the Rings anime? And I looked it up. Sure as heck, they are making a Lord of the Rings anime.
Just no one cares to actually check who owns the right for anything. Which I mean,
apparently not.
I think their big thing is because like there's always so many weird things with the rights of like there's the rights to it, and then there's the rights to the movies that everyone thinks of.
Right. I was like, what? Lord of the Rings anime? It's I think pre-Lord of the Rings, but pre-Hobbit as well.
I want you to know I get ads so often for bad mobile games because my phone doesn't know what to give me ads for. And there is a licensed Lord of the Rings, like, one of those, like, free-to-play, like, there's really bad ads for it. But it's just very funny because, like, I'm so used to, like, the fake, oh, here's the sliding puzzles, or here's the hot girls, what are you going to do with them? But it's just Lord of the Rings, and it's all based around, like, the movie. It's all officially licensed, and it's just so weird of, like, because its whole thing is, like, it's every other time sync RPG game you've ever seen on mobile, but their big claim to fame is that they have the license rights for the Lord of the Rings movies to use. So they have all those likenesses you're used to. I'm like, that's, I mean, hey, man, if it's 2022 and you're like, man, I really got to get my movie-accurate Gollum, there you go. You got your Gollum and Gandalf hookup right there on your phone with really bad ads.
Here's another question. Speaking of like mobile games, whatever happened to that Persona-esque mobile game? Did it ever come out?
Oh, the like Project X name or something?
Yeah, Codename X or something.
So that is a NetEase game. So that's like some Chinese thing. I'm sure it's still happening, but I think it might be in a weird space like Diablo Immortal of like, it's probably done, it's probably sitting on some server farm somewhere, but the negative reaction to it was so kind of whatever. I'm honestly waiting for it to just like, in all honesty, I'm like, that's got to be one of their 25th anniversary announcements. Because it's like, at the rate we've been going, it's like, sure, like, why not just have April, the April announcement is just that mobile NetEase game that no one's going to want to play or might not even come out in our country.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a potential option, especially when you bring up Diablo Immortal, like that, that game could come out and they wouldn't have announced it and it would be fine. But since they announced it, that game got so much backlash. Like that's the type of game you don't announce. You just say, "Hey, look, Diablo Immortal's out," and then people play it.
Which was funny because there was a lot of closed beta testing for Diablo Immortal, and everyone I knew who played it was like, "Yeah, it's pretty fun."
Right. If they wouldn't have announced that as like the big Diablo announcement, it probably would have been fine.
Yeah, so mobile game stuff, I'm expecting it any time this year, but I'm also not anticipating it for even a second at all this year, which is the funny part. But Chris, actually, I almost forgot the most important part of your intro. In case people don't know who you are, one of the things we do whenever we have new guests on the show is what is your personal history with Megaten or SMT or Persona and stuff. So for you, if you can think back, when and what game got you into the series?
Okay, so we have discussed this at least once, but not on your show. So I'm pretty sure that one of my friends had like one of the Game Boy games back in the day, but that doesn't count for like my first experience because it definitely didn't lead me into the series. My first like real experience was Persona 4 Golden, and that was like way after everybody else like already praised it and knew that it was amazing. But what's funny is I had bought a Vita and didn't know what in the world I was going to do with it, and my friend's like, "Hey, Persona 4 is on there," so I hopped into that game, and here I am sitting at the kitchen table in my family's, my house, and the part with Rise pops up on the screen, and I was like, okay, I'm not sure if this is for me.
You gotta earn that M rating.
So I turned it off, and I let it sit in my desk for a few months, and then finally I was like, all right, I'm gonna boot this thing up again, but I'm gonna wait till everybody's in bed just in case this turns out to be something insane. And then that was the only part that like was like that, and I was like, oh, okay, well then never mind. And I played the whole game and loved it. It was amazing, and that was my first experience, honestly, was that. And I definitely don't regret playing it. I do regret putting it down for a little bit just because of the intro, which was stupid. I should have just played it right away. And I absolutely love that game. It's probably my like overall favorite in the series, like when you look at it from like the whole perspective of what it is.
Yeah, so since you started with Golden, then you definitely had a lot of backlog in terms of titles. So what have you kind of picked up from then, and like what have you really played, and what's like your white whale of like, God, I got to get back there, and if not pick it up, get to playing it?
I've played like literally the entire series. I haven't finished the entire series, but I've played it all. I've even played OG PlayStation 1 Revelations Persona. I technically own it twice over. I've got the PlayStation Classic, and I have the disc.
Somebody's got to own that thing.
I've got the disc version too. So, yeah. What's funny is I picked up the series at a time when it must have been in a lull because I paid prices that you would probably scoff at in this 2022 era of Persona. I only paid, I think, $55 for Eternal Punishment, complete in box.
That's a good time. Yeah, like what's funny is like really prices only really started skyrocketing the last like 10 years or so. Like back when Golden was out, you could openly buy Persona 2 like on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't they have like a weird reprint or reproduction like late into the PS3 cycle?
PS2 print run of Persona 2 on PS1.
Yeah, the funniest thing probably for me was that the person who I bought it from on eBay shipped it to me in just a envelope. Not like a bubble wrap, an envelope.
Shout out to people. I feel like eBay is like the home of there's no in between. You either are overprotective or have no caution for whatever you're shipping out.
Oh, it was like destroyed. I got a free case shipped to me by the guy who sent it to me because he realized the mistake he had made after he shipped it. I guess he was assuming that the post office was going to put it in the bubble mailer he left there, and they didn't. They just left it in the envelope.
Oh my God. I'm honestly amazed at that story that you got anything back at all then.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for me, the only damage was to the physical case. Everything else was fine.
Which honestly, for like that PlayStation 1 and 2 stuff, even PS3, like a lot of like getting those like aren't really that like much of a deal breaker as long as like the inside paperwork stuff is fine. Like replacing the cases is pretty easy.
Not the double disc cases; those are a little harder to find, especially since they have like PlayStation branding on the inside.
True, especially nowadays. Like back in the day,
Yeah.
it was annoying to get them. Less so now.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, so that was an experience and a half collecting the entire series. I tend to do that. If I like a series, I'll go back and get all of it. Like I just literally just completed my Metroid collection the other day. I just got the last game.
I'm gonna say you better have Metroid Prime Pinball. It'll be just very disappointing.
I do.
Okay,
I paid
good.
like $90 for it, but I do.
Oh, God.
Complete in box copy.
What's is there anything on your Atlus wall of shame that you're like, God, I need that, but I just can't justify it?
No, it's more of the Fire Emblem wall of shame that I just can't bring myself to buy the Warriors games.
What, dude? That was my first one.
I do not care for it was painful buying both versions of Strikers, honestly, for me. Like,
have you bought have you at least played Fire Emblem Warriors?
I have. I don't care for the Warriors games, I'll be honest with you.
No,
like
I mean that is very much just it's a Warriors one. I'll at least say this. Fire Emblem Warriors, thank God, is a dirt cheap game. Is got to be one of those weird ones of I always see copies of the 3DS version that I think everyone forgets exists because that's one of those rare new 3DS exclusives.
And I have a new 3DS, so the thing is, like, I have the most expensive Fire Emblem game that exists. I have the Fire Emblem Fates Special Edition, which I got it for like $100, even like years after it was already expensive, and that's like a $700 game now. And I'm glad I
get you that steelbook. Have you seen the steelbook for Fates?
No, I haven't.
You should try looking up. It was a European exclusive. And so it was the exact same as the North American Collector's Edition that came with Fates as well as Revelation. But what was cool about it was that the steelbook for the outside was the box that we had on the Collector's Edition. So where it was both covers lined up. So it had one cover when you opened it on the left side and then one cover on the right side. It was very, very clean. That was one of those things I remember of. I wanted that steelbook more than I actually wanted the game.
Well, to be fair, Fates is okay. It's not like the best Fire Emblem game. There's a lot of content there. It's not like the best game. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I still prefer to go back and play. Okay, so I did recently pick up something that I had forgotten even existed. So something brought this up the other day. It was like a Fire Emblem Heroes Mario Kart Double Dash thing on mobile. I was like, what? Fire Emblem Heroes and Mario Kart Double Dash crossover? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what is Nintendo smoking, right? And then I remembered, oh yeah, there was the bonus disc on Mario Kart Double Dash for the original copies that actually had items and 2 bonus songs for the Fire Emblem GBA games with the GBA link cable. So I just picked up the Double Dash bonus disc to complete the music collection on my GBA.
That is some dedication. Oh my god. Do you have all the Fire Emblem amiibo?
No, I don't do the Toys to Life thing.
I wasn't sure if you would. I'm kicking myself in the weirdest way. So I have one Fire Emblem amiibo. I purposely didn't want them because I'm like, well, I'm not a fan of this series. I have no attachment to any of them. So why would I buy them, Except when I bought Fire Emblem Warriors, they had a deal, because this was back when, there was a middle era of, post-Wii U, first year of Switch, where, stores were flooded with amiibo, nobody cared about them.
Right.
And what was funny about it was, if you bought Fire Emblem Warriors at Best Buy, you got a free Lucina amiibo.
Oh, that's probably worth money now, isn't it?
I don't even know, but I got it. It was it's literally free. I was like, I can't say no to a free amiibo. And then what's funny is now that I finally have started my first real Fire Emblem game, I'm kicking myself. I'm sure it's not that expensive because a lot of the most recent ones aren't really that expensive. I am kicking myself though because I purposefully have passed up on Byleth so many times, and I'm like, I don't think I'll have any attachment to this character. And now that I'm playing the game, fuck.
Are you playing Three Houses for the first time?
Yeah, I'm playing it now for the first time. I'm in chapter 2 or 3. I'm really, really early.
See, I do think that Three Houses is a good Fire Emblem game to convert Atlus fans over to Fire Emblem because it incorporates a lot of Atlus style gameplay mechanics. Especially with the.
Were you worried as a Koei Tecmo hater when you found out that they were the developers of Three Houses?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, like Three Houses to me is not the pinnacle of Fire Emblem. Like it's a good game, but I don't think it represents the rest of the series very well.
Well, I mean, I get that, but I mean more so from the fact of, like, I always think it's so interesting how few people know that Intelligent Systems didn't even make the game. Whereas, like, I think that's always a good sign of, like, hey, that's a really good job if the developer can, like, kind of trick so many people into being
I
like,
mean, they
oh,
had
this
a
is just one of the
consulting
node.
role. They had a consulting role, obviously, but yeah, they're not the main developer on that game. I think it's very clear if you look at the art style and everything else associated with it, especially like the cutscenes. It's clear that it's a Koei Tecmo game.
Mm-hmm.
And the Intelligent Systems doesn't really design games that look like that.
So are you neutral? Don't care about the new Fire Emblem Warriors coming out this year? Like, do you have even a passing interest?
I just feel like Fire Emblem to Warriors is like one of the laziest because it's so simple. I mean, Warriors is already a like sword slasher. Like it's just a lazy port.
Are
Like
you
you
the
can,
same way about Hyrule Warriors? I would assume.
yeah, I've never played Hyrule Warriors.
There, man. You know what's so funny about that is, if it wasn't for Fire Emblem Warriors 2 happening this year, I wouldn't have picked up Three Houses. That's the only reason I'm picking it up.
Now, how do you like? Do you like Three Houses?
I do. I mean, what's funny is, like, I always knew I would like how they played. I just never was motivated enough to get into the series. Like, I love Advance Wars. I love every Intelligent Systems game I've ever picked up before, minus Codename Steam. And I was like, this is a great developer. And then, yeah, it was just Fire Emblem just kept missing me. I didn't want to play it on GameCube. I didn't want to play it on Wii. I didn't want to play it on GBA, DS, or even 3DS. It was just one of those things of, like, I'm drowning in other games to play. I didn't need Fire Emblem in my life, but now that I'm played, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm not motivated right now to, like, go back and, like, check everything out, but I will say, if it keeps up at this pace, I'll definitely be like I'll check out new titles, but I don't think I'm going to be motivated enough to, like, go back and, like, check out every single one.
Fire Emblem was probably my first like obsessive series for me. Like as far as going back and playing everything, because like I still have to this day the patched ROMs that I acquired under methods as a child that you can acquire those types of games, and they are still patched from the patches from Serenus, however you want to pronounce it, Forest.net from years ago. And I did that in like middle school. Like I have been into this series a long time, and the only way you know you're into it is if you play all of the Japanese games.
Yeah, exactly.
That was me.
I mean, hey, we're living in a world where we got, like, a remake of Gaiden, so at the very least, I think there's because there's really only a handful of games that now at this point we haven't gotten right.
Yes, and what's funny is, and it's the same games over and over and over again that continuously get ported and are Japanese only. There's the Mystery of the Emblem, which was technically Fire Emblem 1 and then Fire Emblem 1 Plus. Essentially, it'd be like the lost levels of Super Mario. They'd be considered that way. It'd be like the same thing. Well, on the DS, they decided to port the first half of Mystery of the Emblem, and then the second half they ported to the DS as well, but they left it Japan only for some reason.
That's
So
so
no
weird,
matter what, you still only have the first half of Mystery of the Emblem officially ported to English.
man.
And
Well,
then when they did, this is, okay, the last thing about Fire Emblem, the thing that made me the most angry overall ever in the Fire Emblem series was when they said, finally, for the first time ever, we're bringing over Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Sword of Light, or whatever the heck they decided to call it for the third iteration of it. And I was like, dude, we already got that. Shadow Dragon on the DS exists. Like, are you just ignoring that? And you're just not going to port the second half? Like, Nintendo, what are you doing?
it is kind of funny. They do definitely act like that's a complete game. Like, they really do leave out that it's like, hey, there's more. You could keep going. Because, like,
Yeah, if they,
I look back at, like, when they released 1 on the Switch eShop, I thought that was cool of them to release it so cheap in a new little form. But then also at the same time, I'm like, that was it? That's all you wanted to do for their 30th anniversary? You just wanted to release one NES game?
they should have done the Super Nintendo version because that's the one that's never been put to English, and it has a pretty well done English translation by the fans. And it would be the first time we would get the second half in English because you get the first half on the Famicom, you get it on the DS. It's been done before, Nintendo. What were you thinking?
Well, now, Chris, now I'm legally obligated to ask you, so now you have to put out your opinions in the world. What are your thoughts of Tokyo Mirage Sessions as a fan of both Atlus and Fire Emblem?
It's a good game. I mean, it obviously doesn't fit either series. It's not a Shin Megami Tensei game. It's not an Atlus
It's
like
definitely
traditional
got
game.
more Fire Emblem than it does of Atlus in it.
I just mean it doesn't fit in either series. Like there's
For
no
sure, for sure.
So like it's a good game in its own right. I think it really swings hard into the J-pop thing, which is fine. If you can get past that, or if you don't mind that type of setting, it's pretty good.
Can you imagine because I love that game with no context of anyone. I'm like, who's Tiki? Who's
Right.
Crom? Who are all of these people? And like, this isn't even like who they are in their own respective games. So it's like my only like knowledge of all of these characters is basically like, okay, you were either in Smash Brothers or this weird J-pop game. That's all I know of your character. Like the only one I could say I probably got a good vibe for would be Tiki, because Tiki was literally just Tiki in that game.
Here, it's confession time for Chris on knowing who those characters were. What's funny is I had sworn off Fire Emblem during college, right? I went to college between the years of 2011 and 2015. So I missed all of the 3DS releases. And the first time I had been introduced to those characters was in Tokyo Mirage Session. So here I am, a Fire Emblem fan, having zero connection with the characters physically in the game. And then I went back and bought all the 3DS games after that. But yeah, I had literally no connection to those characters either.
That's too funny. Yeah, especially because of how big Awakenings was, and yeah, that in Fire Emblem Warriors really leaned into it. Because I remember the joke at the time was Fire Emblem Awakening was basically half of the roster in Warriors, even though it was supposed to encapsulate the whole series.
Well, Awakening was the only reason Fire Emblem continued on into the 20-teens was the success of Awakening, and that's kind of
had Codename Steam 2 if only it had failed.
Which is actually kind of sad to me because Awakening doesn't even exemplify the best parts of the series.
Yeah,
personally,
it was interesting that one specifically blew up, but I think that was such an example of right place, right time.
It was. I mean, they invoked nostalgia and they brought in a new audience with new features. They did everything that Halo Infinite intended to do and better.
It is kind of funny to think like that came out literally the same year as SMT4. Because never forget even though you probably didn't buy them both at the time, but the amount of people I knew who bought either SMT for the first time or Fire Emblem for the first time just because of that $30 eShop promo.
Oh, I didn't realize that was the case.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So Nintendo basically, because that was their two big RPGs that year. They said if you bought Fire Emblem in January and SMT4 in July, if you registered RIP the Club Nintendo point, like if you register your Club Nintendo and do the survey for both, they would give you $30 on the eShop for free, which led to most people buying both games and then discovering the franchise, because those are two really, really big titles. Or if you're me, you work at GameStop at the time, and then you just use some Fire Emblem Awakening code that was never redeemed, and then get the $30 that
way. That's awesome. I didn't even realize that was a thing. I actually, so here's a funny story on top of everything else. So I'm usually a physical collector of everything. But in regards to Shin Megami Tensei, because the eShop has been so cheap with all these games, I have basically become a digital Shin Megami Tensei collector instead of a physical, just because I've got too many physical collections that are too expensive, and I don't feel like starting another one.
Do you have anyone that like you don't have physical yet, but if you ever saw it at the right place, right price, you would jump in?
Oh yeah, I would buy all the mainline Shin Megami Tensei's physical if I had the opportunity to, and they were cheap enough. But like, there's so many spin-offs, I can't commit to collecting the entire spin-off collection of Shin Megami Tensei.
No, that's it. It's more intimidating, I think, when you look at it as a whole. In terms of what we've had released, it's really not that much. Although that's coming from someone who like has sold off all of his PS2 collection. So like, really, all the ones I have are like 3DS and on, because I was one of those people back in the day that I just sold when I had a game. I played it, I sold it, I got the next game.
I did that up until about the GameCube, and I still have like my entire GameCube collection.
I bet you are very glad now to look at GameCube prices.
Oh yes, there's no way. I even have the official GameCube component cables. Like there's no way I would go back and buy those. Not a chance. Like they've gone up $100 since like I looked last in like 5 years ago, they're like 200. Now they're like 300. Those component cables are insanely priced. And what's even funnier is even with the HDMI external mods they have now, people are still paying ridiculous money for the component cables, and I have no idea why.
Well, you know what? You've actually segued us into one of our first topics. This might not be the newest of the new, but I'd love to actually pick your brain about this as a fellow PlayStation fan. So PlayStation finally announced their new tiered system for PlayStation Plus. We're not going to get into that. All we're really going to talk about is at the most expensive service price, they are adding PlayStation 4 and 5 will now have backwards compatibility native on the hardware for PlayStation 1, 2, and PSP games. And so my big thing that I get why most people haven't talked about this, because Sony was like, we're going to have 700 games, and we're only going to tell you 5 of them. So clearly there's like a lot of question marks, but my brain is like telling me, because like PlayStation's got such a crazy backlog, especially including like all their partners they still work with. I'm like, if you're Atlus, you've got to look at this as a gold mine, right? Of like, oh, sweet, if Sony can just make a wrapper, then we don't need to worry about porting a lot of these games and making a... Because, like, one of the first big things... So what I want to talk about with you is what do we think is the real, like real possibility of X, Y, and Z games from Atlus being there at launch, and how do we want it to look, or what do we want them to add for these backwards compatible versions? Because, like, one of the biggest things I've told people recently is, like, I know that people at Atlus want to do Persona 1, 2, and 3, those PSP games. I know they want to put those out on modern hardware. But it's like, who's going to make it? Who's going to have the time for it? How are they going to charge for it? Blah, blah, blah. And I think something like this is like adding it into adding it into the hundreds of millions of PlayStation 4s and 5s out there would be like a huge boon of like thinking of like all of those really niche PSP, PS1, and PS2 games that if they have the rights for and those ROMs are still there, you're going to have a lot more people happy about that than sticking them on that $100 PlayStation Classic.
So I have an interesting thing to throw in here, maybe a wrench in your whole plan. Did you notice the one specific announcement when this new plan and price tier was announced?
The removal of Persona 5 from the PlayStation Plus collection?
Yeah, like what the heck?
My gut told me when I saw that, and I haven't dug into it because really, I've always been in the weird camp of like, yeah, if that's how you get Persona 5, cool, but like, as soon as Royal has ever existed, I've never told anyone, hey, start with vanilla first. It's like, no, just play Royal. Like,
well, unless all you have is a PS3.
Exactly, but like this is something given away to PlayStation 5 owners. It's like, no, like, dude, just play the new one, please. So
you gotta wonder if that contract was like sorted out before Royal was
okay.
released.
I can break some news on this then, because I know this has not been reported. I had this confirmed. They are not removing it because of the contract ending.
Oh, okay.
So I've taken that as telling me, like, so when I did digging, I found out, no, that is not being removed because of a contract ending. That, to me, says they are removing it because they know that they would rather just give people Persona 5 Royal at this point.
That makes more sense.
Because it's like, because like, think about it like this, because Game Pass sometimes has this problem, but like, it's one of those situations of like, okay, why would you give away Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal on the same service? Because those two descriptions are not going to tell you that they are the exact same game. And everyone listening, I know they're not really the exact same game, but it's like if you, like, everyone out there listening, just pretend you're out there at GameStop and you're a normal person. This lady comes up to you. Hi, my son wants Persona 5. What should I buy him? You're not going to recommend vanilla. You're not going to be like, your son he needs the pure experience. No, it's like you're going to recommend the new one with all the content.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that'd be like telling somebody to go out and find a physical copy of Persona 4 Arena when you know Ultimax exists and you know that the digital Ultimax is even cheaper and has all the DLC minus a few songs.
Exactly. So, like, it's one of those situations of that's just being removed for, convenience sake. It'd be like you'll never see Puyo Puyo Tetris 1 and Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 as, like, a thing, but, like, maybe in that situation, because they do have separate story modes, but, like, really, for the most part, if you're someone who just wants to play Tetris or Puyo Puyo, you could just get 2. You don't need to play 1.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be like any Tetris that's just like standard Tetris. You can buy 1 and you've played them all.
So, like, from everything, and again, I've not dug into it that much, but I can confirm it's not because of a contract expiring, because that's literally the only time a game has been removed from that service. And so, it's being removed in May. The new PlayStation Plus service starts in June. It all just seems so obvious to me that that's why it wasn't even worth digging into it anymore. Of just like, yeah, they're just going to add... Because they're also adding a ton of PlayStation 4 games. There's going to be at least 400 PlayStation 4 games added to the service. The other 300 will be PS1, 2, and PSP titles. So it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're Sony, you're going to want to get a lot of your big exclusives that have already sold their millions and millions of copies. Like, let's be honest, how many people are really buying Persona 5 Royal in 2022?
Not many. Just basically people that probably just bought into the ecosystem or new fans.
And I think that's a huge value proposition for them of, like, include that. I don't know if they would include Strikers, because they literally just gave it away for PlayStation Plus this year, and that's still barely a year old in the West. But I think that's another one of those things of, like, throw it in eventually. You don't really need to. I would. Here, we'll play like a little bet here, Chris. What is the chance that the new PlayStation Plus will give the dancing games away for free?
I think if you're gonna do free Persona games, you got to start with Royal, and then maybe after Royal's been on there for a while, then you're like, okay, now that we got all these people hooked, here's the dancing games.
Yeah, you gotta wonder if you're Sony, how do they roll it out? Because their backlog is so massive. Like, the only one I can imagine they'll flood day one is they're going to get as many Final Fantasy games as Square will let them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because like,
and they'll
have
to get the modern Square on there too.
Oh wow, this would be huge, and I think would actually tie it pretty well. If they were able to lock, because you gotta imagine they're gonna try and be a little bit like Game Pass in terms of getting some new games. Mm-hmm. If they were really savvy and they got the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster free on new PlayStation Plus, so think about it, then they could launch with Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 remastered, 10, 10, 2 remastered, 12. Probably throw in the bad PS3 streaming version of 13 trilogy, and then you got 14. Oh yeah, they wouldn't give away 14 just because that's an MMO, but that's also like kind of free to play. And they're already currently giving away 15, so it would be like you could play the entire Final Fantasy saga basically with PlayStation like Plus if they added that one title.
So even if they don't do the Pixel Remaster, didn't they have like a PlayStation 1 version of Final Fantasy like collection of some sorts?
No, the one you're probably thinking of are those old PSP ones. Although that, I mean, Square, geez, dude, like we're talking about Atlus games that could be added. Square is probably like set to make so much money because like think of all the PSP exclusives that never even got ported to Vita that they could bring over. They could finally bring over Third Birthday. They could finally bring over Final Fantasy. I mean, if they wanted to be crazy, they could do Final Fantasy Type 0, the PSP version. Like, they could be, like, really fucking insane with it. Although, that's another one of, like, you probably just give them the HD version. Because, you probably don't want to look at, like, 240p, like, graphics at that point. But it's, like, all their, like, exclusive ones they have, like, Crisis Core. How often have people been begging for a new way to play Crisis Core?
That's a fair point. Although there's another series that I think they could take aim at Nintendo with. They could do the Xenosaga.
That would be huge if they launched and gave away... Because, like, it's weird. Now that we're living in a post-Chrono Cross remaster world, I feel like if Chrono Cross is popular enough to get a remaster, I feel like Xenogears should be, you know?
Yeah, is it Xenogears, Xenosaga, or both? Do both exist?
What's funny is they could actually both be added. Xenogears is Square. Xenosaga was a trilogy of games on PS2. I think that also has a really good chance of coming back, because if you're Bandai Namco, they've already said they want to bring those games back, but they just don't make sense to remaster them. So then, hey, if Sony's just saying, hey, we're bringing back PS2 emulation, Hell yeah, bring those on, because they want to bring those games. Like, this is, like, everyone knows Xenoblade 3 is coming out this year, so you'll get some kind of synergy, and you'll still get money out of it.
That's right. Xenogears was the one that led to the creator creating Xenoblade later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Xenogear, because they have no, like, there's no canonology in there, but
There's, like, loose ties.
Yeah, there's some like Easter eggs and some callbacks, but overall there's no connection. But I do think it would be there was actually a rumor that either Xenosaga or Xenogear was getting a remake, and I don't remember which one it was.
Xenogears more than likely, because straight up Namco has told us that they can't do Xenosaga. Not that they can't, they don't view it as like they've tried to do it. They just like it's not going to make them money, and I can't lie. That would not be a remaster that makes them a lot of money.
Now, if Sony wants to grab from a back catalog of games that probably nobody's ever heard of that would probably do decent on their platform, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Tearing Saga or the Berwick Saga.
Oh yeah, those. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like get as niche, like as long as you can find those rights, yeah, get all those games.
You know what that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for those that don't, though, that's actually created by the original creator of Fire Emblem. He left Nintendo to create his own company and then produced Tearing Saga and Berwick Saga, which were like Fire Emblem-esque games on PlayStation, then got sued into oblivion by Nintendo, won the lawsuit, and then they still had to shut it down because the legal fees tanked the company.
Are those like expensive now, I wonder?
They're Japanese only, so like very few people are trying to get them, but there is an English translation patch that's like almost 100%.
Gotcha. No, so yeah, like honestly, I'd say so. Like, if you're Atlus going into like the games you could bring, realistically, you could probably just do P1 and P2 for PlayStation 1. I know they published a ton of games, but I can't think of anything they published from those days that they still would have the rights to.
Whoa. You think they should do Revelations Persona, or are you talking PSP?
Oh, I'm saying no. I'm saying well, let's double dip. Why not? Because, like, in a situation this, whereas, like, it's not like, we have confusion, like, with Persona 5 and Royal. Revelations Persona and Persona 2 being on there, well, you'd need to have Eternal Punishment, because God forbid they ever actually, like, translate the PSP version. They could do that with this. I don't think they'd be that bothered, but I'd like to be wrong. But, like, I think including Revelations would just be such a gimme of like, hey, try the original. It's like why you would play. Oh, do you want to play the remaster of Final Fantasy 1 or do you want to play the original? Like, there's people who would want to do both. Like, there's enough visual difference. It would make sense, and they're on two very distinct and different platforms. Different music, different art styles, different actors, stuff like that.
That is one of the biggest debates when you talk to like people who've played the whole Persona series is, do you play P1, PS1, or P1 on the PSP? Because there is so many differences in both the music, although then there's the Snow Queen quest, which you only get on the PSP version in English because, you know, us dumb Americans wouldn't have been able to figure it out back in the day, so they just cut it. And the translation took a lot longer, so they didn't want to do it. Yeah, I know there's a whole backstory to that, but man, missing the Snow Queen quest was a dumb thing.
It was a choice for sure. But yeah, like, I feel like in a situation like that, just, yeah, that one, it's like, it's the first of the series, bring it, why not? Like, there's not going to be, like, no one's going to be confused why Mark is black in one and why Mark is white in another. Like, no one's going to look into it that hard.
You don't think so?
I mean, at least not into a point where someone's going to be confused. They'll be like, hey, it's PS1, PSP. There's a difference. Whereas, like, when you're comparing two games that are pretty much the same and they're both on PlayStation 4... Like, that's much more of a blurry line.
Oh, you mean P5 versus P5? Yeah, that's fair. I got you.
It'd be like true. How, like, you can still play Halo 3 outside of the Master Chief Collection. Like, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer that version, honestly. But there are reasons to get MCC, especially if you don't have an Xbox 360 anymore.
But yeah, so like with the PS1 stuff, I think that's pretty shut and closed. Going back to the spinoffs, I think after the really meh response, I'm not certain as much as so it's weird. So Nocturne HD sold it sold better than expected in Japan, and then it sold incredibly worse than expected in America. So it's kind of
that's because people. Everybody knew what state it was in by the time it hit the Americas.
Yeah, well, it was that. It was a $50 PS2 remaster, and it was like there was a lot of things making me scratch my head about that game last year. But it was like
it didn't say featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry on the front cover.
Yeah. Featuring DLC with Dante from Devil May Cry.
They should have been on the cover, guys. Come on, at least give us the sticker to put on it.
So that was a weird one of like. I almost wouldn't be surprised if they're scared off of doing HD remasters for a while, and then just want to check out this PS2 one of just like, hey, like at the very least, I'm gonna say this: there will like Nocturne. There's no way in hell because at that point, just give away Nocturne HD, like make that one of the PS4 games. Like there's no. And even this might piss off people. There's no real reason to check out PS2 Nocturne compared to HD Nocturne if you're Sony. I'm aware if you're a fan, there's a reason they are different games, but it's like, for the most part, Atlus wants you to play the HD version. That makes sense. But I think Digital Devil Saga, make that a bundle, and Devil Summoner 1 and 2, make that another bundle. I think that would be really, really cool of just like, because DDS I can see happening. The Raito games, I feel like that's still a ways off, and just because of how weird those are, and definitely very expensive and hard to get.
Sure. And if you want to get them on PS, sorry about that. If you want to get them on PS3, they're like $10, so it's not that bad.
No,
but
exactly.
Here's the thing: when you go from PS3 to PS, service Sony did to publishers porting their old games was forcing trophies. How do you feel about that?
It's not, because I know actually what it takes to bake in popping trophies for like classic titles. It's not that hard, but at the same time, I know it's something that a lot of devs just don't even want to mess with and would rather just throw a ROM up. So I'm in favor of it because I like when games did that, but my problem is if they're adding hundreds and hundreds of games, I don't see it happening. I think it might happen with select titles. But like the only reason we have PS2 games with trophies is because those PS2 games that were on PS4, those are just PS4 games. Like they're just emulated PS4 games. Like they're emulated PS2 games in a PS4 file. There's nothing about them that's backwards compatible. Outside of it's just...
That's what I'm saying, yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a lot of extra work when you got to put in the wrapper, check the compatibility. If Sony gives you a workaround PS2 emulator for the PS5, it makes life a lot easier on these devs.
Now, I got a question for you, because I actually should have brought this up sooner. Because the only way that we know of right now that you can get these games is if you sign up for their most expensive service. I will be jumping in just because I'm already picky with PlayStation Plus, but I am a sucker for backwards compatibility, and I think if they even have a couple of titles I want, I at least want to try it out and compare it, especially just because of how good of a job Microsoft has been over the last couple of years of backwards compatibility. Ironically, like Nintendo, when I did a trial of Nintendo Switch Online, I was like, I am never paying for this, because it's like, I don't want to play any of these NES games, I don't want to play any of these Super Nintendo games. Like, the library was weak, the selection was weak, I didn't like how things were. My question is then, do you want to sign up? Are you in a wait-and-see approach? And, because this hasn't been clarified yet either, I really would like it if it's not all locked behind the subscription, because, like, please let us buy these games. Like, don't have them just be like this ever-changing library. Like, take the good part of Microsoft's backwards compatibility of, hey, even if I can't legally buy 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, let me play 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, you know?
Yeah, okay, so here's what I think is going to happen. And I was reading some of the FAQ on this PS Plus collection when they said, oh, this is technically going away. Well, right now what Sony said is if you already have like Persona 5 from the PS Plus collection, you will not lose it. However, anybody that has not already downloaded it or gotten, redeemed it, they lose it. So I think the PS Plus collection will operate more like that than like Game Pass, especially since we're talking about older games. So I think once you've downloaded a game, it's yours until you like either stop paying or if like for some reason your PS5 dies and you can't re-download it.
See, I'm worried that it's not going to be like that, and that's why they're warning us. because like they've already distinguished there is a difference between the 2 PlayStation Plus games you get free every month and the 400 that will be available in June.
Right. The difference is, I think the PS Plus collection, if you kill your service and then you rejoin, you get all the PS Plus titles that you had back. I think this service is, if you pay continuously, you never lose the titles you're playing.
I would be curious if they can do that, but I feel like it's got to be like Game Pass, where it's just one of those things of like they just don't view it as like viable to like have a couple of these games on there of like, because I always wonder with Game Pass, I feel like it's one of those things of it either is getting removed because no one's playing it, or the publisher had a very specific deal and they don't want people to be able to play it for free anymore. Like how there was when the GTA Trilogy remaster came out, you could only like do that for like a month or two on PlayStation and Xbox, and then they removed it.
Yeah, I think part of it was that Xbox and PlayStation were fed up with how the state of it when it was released, because that was such a garbage release when it first dropped.
But remember, this was all stuff that was planned out before release, and it was very specifically planned out of PlayStation got at launch Vice City, and Xbox got San Andreas for Game Pass, and then that was only there for like 2 months.
I mean, the whole reason for that obviously was to get you to buy the whole game. Like, oh, this is so great, I want the whole game, right? Like, and I can see that.
Though, the weird thing about that people never bring up is that you still can't buy those games piecemeal, and then PlayStation Now and Game Pass was the only way to get those games individually.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, that is weird. It'd be like if the Mass Effect trilogy let you play like one of the 3 games in Game Pass or PS Plus, and then you could get the whole trilogy or none of it.
But yeah, so like I think they have a lot. I have a hot take that I'm wondering how you'll feel about this. I think out of all the companies, I bet you Atlus is really glad that they have no fucking games on PS3 that need to be brought over at this point.
That's probably true. Well, yeah, because they don't need to do Catherine Classic. There's no reason to port that over, especially since you've got the Catherine Full Body. I mean, Atlus has already done the work. They've ported most of their PS3 games.
Even the third-party ones. They got Dragon's Crown. They got Odin's Affair. They got all their PS3 stuff they had originally. Is all.
Oh, there's one game. There's one game. Can you think of it?
You better not be thinking of Game of Thrones, the game.
No. I mean, that's one that would be cool, but I doubt that they have the license to that still. No, 3D Dot Game Heroes. I know it's from Software. I think technically was the dev.
To be fair, that is actually on PlayStation Now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, it is not. They can't technically port it directly unless they do the work at this point. It is on PS Now, but
that is such a great game, though. 3D Dot Game Heroes are really fun.
I'm surprised Nintendo didn't sue him into the ground for that one. Although it is parody. It is technically parody.
Remember, like the day one that came out, people were because you could make your own characters. Like, here's how to make Link in 3D Dot Game.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure somebody on the team was expecting that, but that is a great game that has never been fixed by Atlus to be a next-gen title or to a new console. It's only on PS3. It's such a weird situation to be in where you have this great Zelda-esque game that's only on PS3.
I think if you're from though, you're kind of like, man, I'm like, we got Elden Ring money. We get like, did you see recently Ninja Blade got delisted? I'm like, that was available.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so you remember From Software made a 360, really early 360 exclusive called Ninja Blade?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
It is really low budget. It's like it's literally there because like you know how Nioh is just Team Ninja ripping off Dark Souls?
Sure.
It is From Software ripping off Team Ninja.
I gotta look this up. You got me curious. It's literally
just their attempt at Ninja Gaiden, and it's not that awesome. It's not bad, but it's not awesome.
It's cheap. I might have to get this.
It's a 360 and PC exclusive. It was a really early like Microsoft deal they made with FromSoft.
Oh, you know what? I think I've played this. It was like a massive demo on the Xbox 360 store like early on because they were hyping the heck out of this.
But yeah, for all you Ninja Bladers out there, sadly that got... I would love to know why that got delisted now. Like, what happened that in the year 2022 they're like, sorry,
oh my
guys,
gosh,
it's all gone now.
I have wondered what this game's name was for a long time because I played this like way back in the day and had no idea what happened to it. I thought it was Ninja Gaiden. I tried Ninja Gaiden in 360. That was not what this was. Okay, Spencer, you have finally solved a puzzle that I've been trying to solve since like 2008.
Brain rot.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, going forward from there, yeah, 3D Dot Game Heroes would be super cool to see a remake of. I know there's like no point to actually doing that at this point, but I would love to see it.
I could see it at the very least. I feel like that is one of those things that I'm like, yeah, I could actually probably see that happen. Here's another one I'm trying to think of. But yeah, PS3 is totally set. Their PS4 library, I feel like just bring everything. Because it's like, nothing they have on sale right now is something that's repeatedly selling outside of, let's say, Strikers. So it's like, bring over all those Vanillaware games. Just give Nintendo a big FU. Throw 13 Sentinels on there so a bunch of lamos can just tell you to get PlayStation Plus to play it or whatever. Odin Sphere, Dragon's Crown, all those awesome games, like, just throw them all on there. Because, like, no offense, Dragon Crown not selling that many copies this year. So,
hey, but you know what the most triggering question is going to be, right? When it comes to Atlus putting games on the system, which version of Persona 3 gets added?
So then that goes into the tricky part of then PSP. I know there is still a PC version of Persona 3 somewhere out there. It's floating in the ether. But let's be real. If that's not out yet by June, why not just throw P3P on PS4 and 5 and make some money?
Oh, you're going to pick P3P. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, let's go to the PS2 stuff real quick, because that's the only one that would loop over. Persona 4, obviously, you could bring over Persona 4 Vanilla, and then a bunch of people would be like, oh, it's the superior version, because Teddy sounds more like an adult. And so, like, Persona 3... Okay, so this is what you would do, because Persona 3 is a little bit messier. Don't bring over Persona 3 Vanilla, just bring over Fez, and then include Portable. That way you're making everybody happy.
But what if they say, all right, Atlus is like, Sony, you get one. Which one do you want?
If you get one, get Portable, yeah. Fucking throw FES in the fire. You don't need that.
But what about the journey?
Yeah, you don't want to...
Or not the journey, the answer. My goodness.
The journey's all you need. The destination, not so much.
What about the answer, Spencer?
The answer is a series of YouTube videos. That's all they need.
You can just watch that. Like, if there were trophies for the answer, it would be a different story. But nobody knows whether you watched it or whether you played it. That's my answer to that.
I won't be surprised if they don't bring over P3 and they're just like, no, or even P4, honestly, because it's like we know they're going to bring those to consoles.
Probably. I mean, I don't know. I question it more and more every day, especially after they announced Arena instead of something else. I'm not
appreciate
upset.
This because you were really salty about it. If you look at the back of the physical box for Ultimax on Switch and PS4, in giant letters, the first thing it says in the middle of the box, the sequel to Persona 4 Golden.
What?
Like, that's their selling point for that game. Not that it's a really great fighting game, not that it's by Arc Sister Works, or like the sequel to this game, not on this platform.
That's so funny. I did not realize that it said that. Because it doesn't say it on the 360 edition at all.
No. Yeah, they changed up the art assets for the PS4 and Switch box.
Do you know how excited I was when I found out these games were on the Xbox 360 of all weird places for it to be?
I mean, I hope you own the 360 version of Catherine for that very reason.
No, I don't. Catherine's one of my download-only games.
That's a dirt cheap one. Like, I feel like every time I go into a half-price books, I always see a Catherine on 360.
Well, the cover left me thinking I probably don't want this sitting on my shelf with my children.
That's why you get the exclusive Walmart zoomed-in face version.
I thought about it. I did consider that at one point in time, but I actually got all of my Catherine digital copies for free, believe it or not. And so I've never felt bothered to go get the physical edition.
No, yeah, I can't really blame you that much on that one.
Yeah, because I got my one on the Switch for free. I won some contest and I got it for free. And then
Phil Spencer was just being generous to you. He just liked
on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have Catherine on the PS3. I have the PS3 digital version, and I got that one for free too. Because
that was PlayStation Plus then.
No, Sony actually, for some reason, gifted me like $30 for some complaint I had launched, and Catherine was like, I don't know,
Stop
$20.
trying to cancel us on Twitter with your firmware videos. Here's $30. Please be quiet.
This was like 2017, 2018. It was before YouTube. But actually, what's funny about that you say that, one of the videos I put out, within one day of me putting out one of those videos, Sony fixed whatever thing I was complaining about. And that was one of my like highly viewed videos. And they also changed some of their customer service options for some people. I found that out too. So I guess Sony does listen to some of my videos. Maybe.
You're a man of the people.
I guess.
So, man of the people, Chris, we're going to have one last question about this, then we're going to move on to, believe it or not, what was supposed to be our main topic, but then watch this one be actually our main topic. So, you have one game. All of our dreams of, hey, drop all of these at once are not true. We can only bring one Atlus game from PS1, PS2, or PSP to this service in June. What is that first game and why?
Ooh, just one?
You only get one. It's a Sophie's choice.
Like, obviously it's got to be Disney Kitchen.
You know, dude, Disney, the way they're giving their rights out for old stuff, they would allow it. I bet you right now that they'd be like, fucking sure.
Obviously, we got to get, Jack Bros. No, just for Demi Crow's sake, Jack Bros has to be mentioned. It's part of the podcast. But
specifically the PS1 version that no one ever knew existed, the colored version of Jack Bros, only in Japan.
Or that, what was the other one that was like a side-scrolling Jack Bros game? I can't remember what system it even came out for.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, Synchronicity. No, if I had to pick one, I probably got, like, as much as I dislike the fact that there is a PSP version out there already that's not translated, I would probably take Eternal Punishment.
PS1 or PS2? Sorry, PSP.
I would take the PS1 version since we don't have the PSP version translated yet. That is a phenomenal game. Or I would take Innocent Sin, one or the other.
I'll tell you right now,
just because those
they
are
better
great.
Include that bonus disc.
I do have the bonus disc. It's pretty awesome. I don't know why you would buy it for that reason, but if you're getting a copy of Persona 2, then yeah, you need that ridiculously...
How many people do you think ever bought Persona 2 and were like, why is this in a double case? It's only one disc game.
And then you pop in the second disc and you're like, what the what am I watching?
If you were a sensible human being, you would think, oh, cool, they included Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment. Nope.
And then you boot up the disc and it's got an anime trailer for a game that never came out in English at the time.
As it should. I would say... I'm going to cheat a little bit, but it's like, if you're going to do one, you do both. I think DDS would be cool. But I can't imagine you do Digital Devil Saga 1 and then not 2. But if it had to pick one game, I would pick DDS 1 would be really, really cool.
If they ever opened it up to more platforms, I would actually love to see the Saturn version of Soul Hackers on the service, but I know they won't do that.
People forget, but the PlayStation Classics collection in Japan was sick. They had PC Engine games, they had TurboGrafx games. It wasn't just PS1. They had backwards compatible downloadable stuff. You could download Pocket Station ROMs.
Yeah, that was pretty neat, because Pocket Station was never a thing over here, really.
No, never.
But I would definitely say if they did expand and include, because I can't imagine that the PS5 could not emulate Saturn. That would just be sad to me if they couldn't figure it out. But we don't have
a Saturn emulator, so I feel like that's then going to stop us.
But that does bring to question, do you think that the Switch will ever get Soul Hackers 1? It's on the 3DS.
But I just don't see Atlus as the company to go through the effort of remastering a 3DS game,
They don't have to. They got to remaster a Saturn game.
Honestly, it would be cheaper for them to remaster the 3DS one than the Saturn one.
That's probably true.
And there'd be more quality of life features for everything.
Yeah, that's fair. Although, if Atlus ever brought over SMT1 to the 3DS, they're not going to do it at this point, but if they were going to, you know what they would do, right?
Watch it just be it's not even the iOS version, it's just straight up the Game Boy Advance ROM. It's not even going to be the iOS
No,
version.
watch. They would be the iOS version, and all the controls would be touchscreen on the bottom screen.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, just leave that on there. Leave that whole ugly HUD. Oh god, I hate the HUD for the classic ones. They're so bad.
I have considered getting the iOS 30 pin to HDMI adapter so I could stream that on stream. I've considered it.
Well, yeah, but see, that's a worthy investment, and not that.
It's like $10 actually.
Yeah.
Oh man, do you know Pat and Ian very well, or you watch them at all? The Pat the NES Punks podcast.
Yeah. Oh.
Apparently, they posted asking whether or not Atari's reproduction cart for Atari Adventure was worth the $100 they were charging for it. And apparently, they pulled the page after they posted the podcast.
Wow, Atari did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I just tried Googling it, and it's like, why is this page down?
That's wild. Damn, if only Amico was that fast.
Hey, that's still coming out, Spencer. Psych.
Now that's gonna be a hell of a documentary when that's all done.
When that's all said and done, that will be probably the worst gaming disaster of all time.
Yeah, man, move over, Ouya. You thought you had top slot.
At least the Ouya came out. Like, there's $17 million down the hole if they don't produce a console.
Oh, man. The
funny thing is like,
locked in.
No, mine's gone. I dumped that thing like the dumpster fire it was, and just once they had that. So look, give a console like 3 delays. 3 delays is the most I'm willing to give. When the third delay,
I think it's like you got to just show me you're making it. Like you got to just at least show me it's being made.
Well, so to be fair, if you were like plugged into the official news that was going on, at the time, right before that last delay, everything pointed to production because they had a company in their commercial.
By the way, I want you to know I follow the Amico way more than I should. For a console I have no interest in getting, I am very well versed on it.
So I will say, like, the red flags started showing hard in 2021. Up until then, they had legitimate excuses, but in 2021, the real red flags came out. It was, okay, production is not happening. The games are not as finished and polished as they showed in the commercials. And instead of, like, showing evidence that things were happening, they started just shutting down, people saying negative things. So, like, okay, we're going into, the legal challenge, legal battles. Like, okay, hold on a second. If you had evidence to the contrary, you would just show it. And that was when all the real red flags came out. And pretty much everybody who was lukewarm on the console at that point, like, you're taking your toes out of the water. You're done. You're not getting in the pool anymore. I was hoping it would come out because it was a weird looking console, and I have like a thing for collecting consoles.
I'll tell you what, if it does come out, I will pick one up out of morbid curiosity.
I know, that's where I'm at. Like, I'm still in the boat of potentially picking up the Atari VCS, despite the fact that it's just a little mini PC with Atari logos on it.
That was its own saga of that getting delayed.
But it came out.
Times. It's true.
It did come out. You can buy them at GameStop full price. They exist, and they have services that work.
Damn. All right.
Just saying.
Might as well get back into topic number 2. I guess we're gonna split main topic into 2. We brought this up a little bit, but
can I ask you a question?
Oh yeah, what's up?
All right. So here's my question for you. When a game launches and it has no physical edition, do you feel the same urgency to purchase it as you do when a physical edition is coming?
Negative interest. Great example, Chrono Cross Remastered. I should be balls deep in that game right now. I am the demographic for it. Digital only. The only physical version, too, is going to be an Asian English version that's only on Switch. And I'm like, I don't want to play it on there. I will say, though, I did dodge a bit of a bullet. Have you seen the reports from the remaster for Chrono Cross?
I have not. I'm not actually one of the original Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross fans. So for me, it's like a wait and see anyways.
Good news. On PS5, it can barely run over 15 frames.
Why?
It is just a really rough remaster. And, like, to be fair, the original game dips a lot under 30. But, like, its performance with its new models is worse than the original PS1 version.
Wow. That's hard to do.
That is hard to do. So then it's like, well, that sucks. And I'm sure it'll get patched, and I'm sure there's like reasons behind it. It's still playable. It's an RPG. I know like frames aren't as important, but like there's a lot of little like niggles and stuff to it. So it's like, like that's a wait and see that like I'm fine like getting. Like that was one of like I put a review code request in. I'm cool waiting. I'm cool taking my time. I'm like, yeah, I got a bajillion other games to play. I'm glad it's there, but like, if that had a physical copy, I would have been hands on. And the same thing with like the other series, like Final Fantasy VIII Remaster. That didn't get a physical copy. Final Fantasy VIII is my favorite PS1 Final Fantasy. I should have been all over that, but it was digital only at launch, so I wasn't motivated to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, the only time that I'm willing to go digital is when either a game is obscenely expensive, and I just, like, for example, Shin Megami Tensei 4 is getting that way now, and I'm glad I bought that digitally on 3DS eShop, despite the fact that I would love to have a physical copy. But the obscenely expensive games that I probably will pick up eventually physically, I'll pay digital for, especially if they're cheap. Or if it's the only way to get it, and it's been like 3 years down the line, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll finally get this game that I really want, anyways. When they get cheap.
I'll say this: if I wasn't covering SMT and Persona releases like I do for the podcast on my channel, as much as I love Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, I probably wouldn't have bought this release day one.
Yeah, I have actually not picked it up because I have the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions, and I'm too deep into other games right now. So it's like I'll just wait a little bit and get it later.
Yeah. So our main story is basically we've had sales numbers now come out of Japan. PC versions obviously is a lot easier to track. Switch has their own rankings and physical copies as well for Japan. Ultimax is currently sitting at the lowest selling spin-off of any Persona like game possible. So, just for context, right now, Persona 5 Strikers and Persona Q are the highest selling spin-offs at over 250,000 in just Japan. Strikers has sold more than Q overall. Like, Strikers is the best selling one. It's done like over 1 million worldwide. But like, just for Japan, it hasn't even like broken over. It hasn't even broken over 50,000. So the worst selling game before this that was a non-mainline Persona game was Persona 3 Dancing All Night, followed by Persona 5 Dancing, and then there's Persona Q2. Persona 4 Arena
Q2
Ultimax,
was the product of such a bad timing.
So Ultimax has yet to even sell a third of what Dancing did.
Oh, yeah, that's sad.
It sold very soft, but there's important things to really know about it. The physical, because we're only talking physical only for this one, of like how low
okay.
it sold. This is physical only. This was a very low print run. The way I've had it explained to me, there are barely over 10,000 physical copies in Japan. There was also not English one. There was a Asian version that had Korean and simplified Chinese in it. So there are 2 physical versions that exist. They had a very small print run, and neither have sold out.
Really?
Well, let's be honest. Even though there's a physical version that exists, none of the physical versions have English text as an option. So it's not import friendly.
That does make it harder to sell.
So for the collectors out there, if you're like me, yeah, you're going to want it, and it's a fighting game, you can still play it. But like, if you're someone out there who wanted to experience that 30-plus hour story mode, none of that's in English if you buy a physical copy.
That stinks.
So physical was always going to be a hard sell, but even, I think important to remember, this was sold at an incredibly low price, even by Japanese standards. So digitally in the West, that was $30. I did buy. If you go and like follow the link below, because hey, give me some money and it helps every now and then. If you buy Persona 4 Arena right now on Switch or PS4 through PlayAsia, it's $27 for a brand new sealed copy. It is cheaper to buy it with like the conversion rate of everything, and even with that, Like, with the collector mentality, small print run and everything. And I have been warning people, there's no way in hell this ever gets reprinted again. So
I believe that.
if you want a physical copy, you better get this one now. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be, like, rare, but I'm saying, hey, this is a one and done.
I do think that if Atlus had made a bigger deal out of the release in the West and promoted it with physical copies, even 40 instead of 30, I think it would have done way better. Wait, was it? I can't remember now what the release price even was.
It was 30.
It was 30, right?
I don't actually blame the physical copy on its performance. I think there are two more major things. Number one, the fact that they announced before release that, hey, rollback netcode is not going to be there until summer, basically just told half of their audience, hey, don't buy this game till summer.
That's fair.
And the other one, I think it released in a terrible release timing. Released in the middle of everyone still playing Elden Ring, Final Fantasy release, Stranger of Paradise, everyone's hyped for Morbius, like there's Kirby's out, Triangle Strategy's out, people are still playing Pokemon, people are playing new Mario Kart maps, Gran Turismo, Ghostwire Tokyo, all of these games
nobody's playing Gran Turismo right now.
Hey, I enjoyed Gran Turismo, and I bought the $100 edition, I'll have you know.
I'm just messing with you, Spencer.
So, it released at just the worst timing. Like, nobody was asking for it. The only thing that could have done worse is ironically, there was actually another 2D anime fighting game that came out the exact same week, one day before.
Was it a Blaze Blue or was it something else?
No, it was Phantom Breaker Omnia. And it was actually, like, it's a fighting game that people wanted for a really, really long time. It has new characters, but it's just like, it's an even nicher anime fighter than Persona. Also digitally only. Mm-hmm. Also coming out in the middle of a bajillion other things. I'm like, you guys just picked the worst time to release this. Because it's like, who out of all the games that came out last month, because like last month was a certified banger for games. We can all agree. Who was like, guys, you've got to pick up this port of Ultimax.
I mean, they could have put it on Xbox, finally put the dang game on the Xbox console too, but they didn't.
Game Pass would have helped that one. I don't know what the reason behind that one is. I want to ask you this. So also a little bit more context for sales. For the top 20, it did not chart in Europe or North America for most downloaded. Obviously, it's a download only title, so it was going to be there either way. It did chart in Japan, but that's also not saying much because Japan definitely downloads more than they used to, but physical is still a way better measure than digital for them. It did get in the top 20 for Japan, but again, that's not saying very, very much.
Right.
So I want to ask you, from someone who hasn't even bought this, did you think this was a good time to release this game? And do you view this game as a failure? Or like, how do you view this from a fan's perspective?
No, I don't think it's a failure. I mean, when you're launching digital...
sorry. I should clarify. We're strictly talking financial. The game's great. It's a fantastic port. It's their least problematic port they've ever made. It just happened to just release at the worst timing. This is all just strictly business and numbers.
No, I understand that. I mean, I guess the fact of the matter is, when you release a digital title, you're not sitting on inventory that's not bought. So I think financially, as long as they didn't spend too much money developing it, it can't be that much of a financial struggle with this one.
It was a very cheap port, so I'm actually in the same boat of like, I think optics-wise, this looks bad. But I've heard no one who's like, oh my god, dude. Like, they're not looking at this like a Nocturne HD, where they're just like looking at honestly, like when they sold Nocturne HD for $50 physically, I was like, this is gonna sit on shelves for years. Like, I don't know anybody who's like, oh my god, like even me. I'm like trying to think about it, like, I didn't buy Nocturne HD physically until it hit 30.
And now you can get it physically for free. Not free. You can get, they're handing it out with Happy Meals now. The kids are loving it. No, for like $25 brand new.
Oh,
right
no,
now,
dude,
still.
it finally hit it finally hit $19.99 this week on both platforms.
Wow. Digital or physical?
Physical.
Holy cow.
And that's another one that did not get a large print run.
I might have to get that one on the Switch finally. Oh man.
So yeah, it is one of those things of I think it looks bad, but they were aware that this was a low effort port. If this was a high effort project for them, it wouldn't have been digital only.
If this was a high effort port, it would have been either a disc and a half or 2 discs with Persona 4 Golden as like a Persona 4 collection.
Man, I bet do you think any of those people who were like, guys, they were going to release them back to back, it just makes the most sense. Do you think any of those people just think back and just go, why did I think that? Why would I do that? Because, like, remember,
actually,
does it make sense to do that? Yes. Remember, this game was announced in December, releasing 3 months after.
Yes, but that doesn't mean they made that decision in December. I mean, they probably did because it's Atlus, but...
No, but it is one of those things of, like, that's a bundle that if they made... Like, I'll tell you what right now. We're at the point that if they release Persona 4 Golden physically on consoles, they might as well just include Arena Ultimax as a pre-order bonus.
And Dancing All Night.
No, that you gotta pay the big bucks for the dancing. Come on.
No, because remember that was the only way to get it was the triple pack on the PS4.
I'll say this: the only way they will ever resell those dancing games is it has to be sold as all 3 games, one package, and all the DLC. They can never sell that game again without piecemealing it.
Yeah, the thing that cracks me up about the dancing thing is the fact that there's separate DLC for the Vita and the PS4 versions. I get that there's probably 2 separate licenses when it comes to portability and consoles, but really? You gotta buy the same exact DLC twice?
The secret of actually how Atlus in the West fucked us over on that and Japan didn't? So in Japan, if you bought DLC for Persona 4 Dancing All Night, as I did, because I bought all the DLC in Japan and all the DLC in the West for the Vita version, if you bought it in Japan, that was free. It transferred over for free. And in America, you had to rebuy it again. And I'll never forget, I messaged... no, I won't say his name, but I messaged the PR person there at the time, December of 2018. I said, this has got to be an error. I'll ask him. Clearly this was a problem. And I said, is this a mistake? Why is it not unlocking for free? I can't help but notice it's asking me to buy this DLC again. And they literally, it was like one of the fastest Atlus emails I ever got back. They were like, nope, that's not a mistake. It's not offered. It's not free. You gotta buy it again.
What? Is it because it's not cross-buy?
Are you aware of the number of people who are going to buy this? Remember, because at the time you had to buy the $100 edition to even get Persona 4 Dancing on PS4. Like, you have to already... That is
one of the few day one...
so many hoops... And then you're going to say, oh, but we'll also still charge you for DLC.
I was very annoyed because I had a few DLC things from the Vita version. And when I went to go play it on my PS4, I was like, oh, that'll be included. And it wasn't.
Because you want to play Hatsune Miku. You're a cultured man.
I don't remember if I had that yet at the time. But I remember I had bought something. I don't remember what it was.
Probably Adachi.
It might have been. I don't know. Was he one of the ones that was a DLC? Okay, I thought he was. It probably was Adachi, honestly, because I just find that character so interesting. I'll pretty much buy Adachi DLC for anything. He's just like a let the world burn kind of guy, like the Joker and Batman. But yeah, I remember being extremely annoyed because I was like, really, Atlus? You just want my money? And they were like, yep.
That actually might be one of their least talked about, but most scummy moves they've ever done. Which is funny because no one's going to be as mad about that as me. Because it's such a specific thing to be mad at.
I was gonna say the audience of people that did that and are angry about it is probably so low. It's like if there was a class action lawsuit, it'd be like less than 100 people that would be angry about this.
Thing, like, because their answer to me basically said there are so few people out there like me who bought the Vita version and the DLC and the PS4 version that it's not worth it, and they have a better chance at making money off people buying the DLC this time around.
Did I ever tell you about my getting the Persona 4 dancing game story and what happened?
No, what happened?
Oh my gosh. So like the Vita version of Persona 4 dancing physically releasing in the West is something that I feel like GameStop doesn't even realize happened, because I bought it from GameStop and it took like 3 weeks to come in the mail because they had to go find a copy in their warehouse and send it to me. And when I finally got it, inside the official Persona 4 Dancing All Night box was Persona 4 Golden.
Now, was this the collector's edition or the just regular box edition?
Regular used version had Persona 4 Golden in it.
Little did you know you were sitting on gold.
No, because I already had Golden at the time.
Actually, to be fair, back then that game would have cost $20, so no, you're right. That would have been the cheaper version, actually.
Yeah, Dancing was 30 and Golden was 20 at the time. But yeah, I was like, what the heck, GameStop? You know these games are not the same. What are you doing to me?
The amount of times that, like, GameStop mix-ups like that happen, like, oh my god, the one you would, because I worked at GameStop for a while, you would always be amazed at the one that happened all the time. Oh my god, Metroid Prime Hunters, and it was actually the demo. Oh my god, the amount of times people would trade in the demo and get credit for the full game was insane.
Well, did you take a Sharpie and you just cross out First Hunt? And then it just looks like Metroid Prime Hunters.
Oh my god.
That's what people were doing. People are still selling them on eBay with the marker on it. That's how you know it was traded in for the full price.
Evil, evil, evil.
I'm actually looking at a copy of Metroid Prime Hunters demo as you say that. That's why it's so funny. I physically have it sitting in my room with me because I just picked up the demo. I wanted the demo to finish out my Metroid collection. It's so funny that you said that.
Yeah, so that's very funny though. Like, because I literally worked at GameStop the year Dancing came out, and so I just have so many vivid memories of like all that other stuff happening for it. Weirdly enough, I think it might have been the same day, or at least I know it was the same month because it was September of 2014. It might have been. Oh, actually, was it 14 or 15? Jeez, it all blurs together. I was like, I'm going to double check it just to make sure. It might have been 15. Just to make sure.
So just for anybody that's on the fence about getting Persona 4 Arena Ultimax on the PS4/PS5, because we all know it's compatible. It is, right, Spencer? I'm not losing my mind here.
Wait, what is backwards compatible?
Persona 4 Arena Ultimax does play on PS5, correct?
Yes, it does. It actually
okay.
Very, very well.
For anybody that's on the fence, and I know some of the DLC is not included, this is probably one of the best bundled games, even though it's digital, Atlus has ever released, as far as giving you content.
No, 100%. And also,
like budget-wise,
quick
you
correction
save
to myself,
so much money.
I should be slapping my wrist, but it is late on a Saturday. That was 2015. 2014 is when Ultimax came out, as well as Persona Q. But yeah, 2015 was Dan. But yeah, so... Yeah, but like value for Ultimax, that's the thing. Don't let any... Like, if you're even remotely interested in fighting games or Ultimax, for $30, it is a fantastic, fantastic value.
And it's actually produced by the Blaze Blue guys, right?
Yeah, it was made by literally Team Blue. So there's two teams that there might be more now because like how big Arc System has got. But back in the day, there was Team Red who did Guilty Gear, and then Team Blue, and this was developed by them.
Yeah. So here's something funny that I forgot about until I just opened my PS3 case of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. They probably just didn't want to produce those tarot cards again.
Man, let me tell you, yeah, the inflatable teddies, those, oh my god, because like Ultimax was like it just could not sell enough. Like they produced so many copies of the PS3 and 360 version, and the box that came with the tarot cards and the inflatable teddy was so big. Just because it was like it wasn't even a box. It was literally just like plastic wrapped, and there was like a little back thing.
I have an unboxing on my unboxing channel of that from like in like 1080p from 2018 or 2019. I will tell you that was one of the weirdest wrap jobs I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and they're all that way. There's not like a clean version. They all look messy as hell.
And it has a weird cardboard overlay.
Yeah, it's got like a U card. If it might not even be a full U card. It's almost might even be an L.
It is just an L. It's the only other release of a game that I've ever seen that does the cardboard the same way, although it's much cleaner, was Axiom Verge.
True. Although that box quality also left some room to be desired, but that was also not like that was not like a $60 product.
No.
So my question for you then, before we kind of get into questions and wrap this up, is for you, are you just waiting for the price to be right, them to add it to PlayStation Plus or something? Or, like, when do you think you'll realistically actually add this to your collection for Ultimax?
I was just actually somebody owes me a couple PSN cards. I'm just waiting for that.
I would say there are two chances that this game has to hit off again. One is
somebody owes me like a $50 PSN card. So when that comes through finally, I will be buying it.
So I would say if this game gets bundled with Persona 4 at some point, I think that could help as just hey, it's bundled in, and then maybe it might help with that. But realistically, it's got one last big chance to make a splash. If they can line up around EVO the rollback netcode update and they drop the game to $20 on all platforms, I think it will sell like hotcakes. I think as long as that does well, because honestly, the online right now is solid. For me on PlayStation, I know PC's got its all horde of issues. Switch is fine, but like playing hardwired in on a PS5, I was amazed at how much better the netcode quality was than PS3. So it had been improved already. So if that update can come out smooth as butter and doesn't get delayed this summer, and they drop it to $20, I think it'll be an instant recommend to so many more people, and will revitalize that community, or even just bring in new people in general. And then a little asterisk, because my thing, especially for all those collectors out there who felt burned by no release, if Atlus did this, and I've asked, there is no plans of this happening at all, but there's obviously still a chance that they could. If they wanted to make good on a physical, they could actually wait for the rollback netcode to be out, and then include that in the physical version.
Yeah, but the Switch still wouldn't have it.
Well, yeah, but the Switch is also expensive, and people would buy the Switch one anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
There'd be a $60 release on the Switch physically.
I mean, honestly, I think it'd be like a Sonic Mania Plus decision.
Yeah.
Remember how when Sonic Mania came out, they were like, why is this digital only? Because Sega knew that you would rebuy it again after they added some stuff in it, and then threw it on sale physically.
Well, didn't the original physical Sonic Mania games come with like a DLC code and a Genesis cart that was fake?
So the cursed history of the mental gymnastics for Sonic Mania digital only, but there was a collector's edition with no physical actual copy, just a download code and a bunch of physical goodies. Then there was Sonic Mania Plus that released digitally and physically. And then, after Sonic Mania Plus, they reprinted after Sonic Mania Plus ran out. They reprinted a new physical that's just Sonic Mania. So if you ever go to the $20 clearance section and you see Sonic Mania, that doesn't have all the DLC. Because they now want you to rebuy that DLC. So if you don't see Plus, that's not the complete version of the game.
Okay, that's a good thing to know, because I almost picked it up for like $5.
That's probably got to be one of the only times I can think of a publisher reprinting their game with less content.
You're not wrong. I mean, that's can't even believe that happened. That is a very bizarre release.
This is also the company who thought you would want to buy a multi-cart bundle on Switch of Sonic Forces and the worst Super Monkey Ball. So clearly something's going on over there.
Okay, here's my question. I meant to ask you this many times prior, but now I'm finally just going to ask you this question. Is Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle something I should have if I consider myself to be a complete Persona collection collector?
100% no. As someone who just recently picked it up, literally, I got it the night before Ultimax came out.
Okay. Because I know that Yu Narukami's in there.
I plan on doing a review of it and covering it this summer when things are a lot more slow. Because that's another game that's actually getting a rollback update.
Oh, okay.
For netcode. It is one of the weirdest games. I still got to put more time into it because there is a story mode. But I would say it feels less like a collab and more like a weird thing. If you ever see it really cheap, which it didn't get a very large print run, but I found it for $20 at a GameStop in perfect condition. I was like, That's good enough. Because I know I looked at
The
copies...
GameStop near me still has it.
Yeah, like, so if you can find it for like $20 and you're morbidly curious, it will never get cheaper than what it is at right now, because it's never, ever getting reprinted. But
Or re-release.
That being said, it is one of the most insulting fighting game rosters of human history.
Why is that?
It is 20 fighters from 4 series.
Huh.
There are only 10 fighters from BlazBlue, which, I mean, to be fair, it is called BlazBlue, so having the most makes sense. There are 4 Undernight characters, 2 Ruby characters, and 4 Persona 4 characters. You only get Yu, Yosuke, Chie, and Yukiko.
Well, to be fair, anybody who picked up Persona 4 Golden and played like 10 hours probably only saw those 4 characters. But the
problem with it is then there's a huge roster of characters that was all held back on purpose for DLC. They're all done.
Oh.
They're all done. They have Mitsuru, Akihiko, Teddy, Labris, even like Adachi. Like, they added a ton of characters. The one thing I will say that I do think is really interesting, because it also plays nothing like Ultimax. It's a very different game. They actually made a unique stage only for Persona 4 Arena in that game that I actually really, really like. It's a really cool boxing arena stage. Like, if you remember the opening movies for Arena and Ultimax, they made that into a stage just for cross-tag battle.
Interesting.
Which actually, then going back to the Ultimax port, I would have brought that stage in, because literally they're all running on the same engine, so why not?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the other thing, the thing we forgot to mention, though, Spencer, something I forgot to mention earlier, something that is severely lacking in a lot of Atlus's new stuff, aside from Shin Megami Tensei 5, is soundtrack bundles. The original Arena, Persona 4 Arena, the first one, had the soundtrack, and Ultimax did not.
Do you remember what the soundtrack was for Arena?
I have it physically on my shelf.
But do you know what was
pretty lacking in good tracks, honestly. I wish it had the whatever Velvet Room remix they had in the game on the CD, and it didn't, so that was frustrating for me, because the Velvet Room remixes are always my favorite.
So the remixes, so that CD you have, that is that is all arrangements that weren't in the original Arena. But
yeah, they're in Ultimax, though, aren't they?
They were added as DLC in Ultimax, and that is actually in the new port.
Okay, I meant like physical MP3 downloads,
mm-hmm.
or the CD. You don't get the soundtrack, do you?
No, there's no CD or anything they did in the West for Ultimax at all, just because that was just a separate thing. Actually, what's funny is that arrangement CD that was exclusive to Atlus USA at the time.
Yeah, because I didn't even realize that the copy I had bought came with the soundtrack until it showed up on my doorstep and I opened it. And I was like, oh, there's a soundtrack here. But like I said, the only thing that frustrates me is the Velvet Room remix is not on it. And that's like one of my favorite songs on Arena.
I just got...
I'm trying to remember. It's like Disco in the Velvet Room or something.
The weirdest thing right now, and I have no idea what... So YouTube just gave me a thing saying I now can look at channels using my videos. So, when they announced Persona 5 Strikers, do you remember how that trailer leaked early? It was supposed to be like a Game Awards reveal?
Oh god, did they tell you that Atlus's video was your content?
Yeah, because I was the first person to upload that trailer as soon as it went live, because I knew Atlus would remove it. And so now YouTube is like, hey, this company called Official Atlus West has your view. So if you want to take their video, just let us know. We'll take it down for you. And I'm like, this is because if you look, mine is canonically, because they straight up hard deleted that file. Mine is canonically the first upload for that announcement trailer. So it goes, me, Official Atlus West, IGN, and then Buffmeister.
What if you just like take it down, YouTube, take him down?
That would be funny, but like then also because like that specifically, I actually don't have any like monetization on over there, because obviously I just ripped it and threw it up there. But it is one of those funny things of like I wonder like what would happen if I was like let's just put all that let's just see what would happen if we like put a pause on that video.
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious. I had something like that happen with my Clips channel. YouTube constantly wants me to copyright strike my Clips channel. I'm like, why would I? Like, these channels are associated, but obviously there's no like hard line between them in YouTube's mind. So whatever. But yeah, it's like constantly telling me this clip from your podcast has been used on this channel called Krill Clips, and I'm like, yeah,
Take him down.
duh.
Take him down, Chris. Come on. Don't let him steal your content. You've worked hard on that.
It does crack me up. That's like Atlus. I own both, or not Atlus, YouTube. I own both these channels. Why would I drop one?
They're just hungry, man. They just want it really bad. But yeah.
So sorry, I did divert with the Blaze Blue question. So we should move on to the questions that they asked.
That is okay because there are a lot of people who ask that. All right, so now that I'm no longer looking at my copyright channel things to get distracted by, let's go to my channel. We'll do the YouTube channel comments first. So everybody on YouTube had a couple of nice questions for us. Perfect. All right. First one comes from, if I can get the name popped up. First one comes from Persona 4 Ever Blaze Blue Tag, of course, had to bring in this one. If Persona 4 Arena Ultimax failed as a solid product, if Persona 4 Arena Ultimax failed as a sold product and as a game, do you think these results would discourage Atlus from making Persona 5 Arena? So again, I would say as a game, it has definitely not failed. Financially, we don't know what their expectations were. I would say if they were expecting this to be a grand opening that's going to open the doors for Persona 5 Arena, which I don't think this was ever supposed to be, I think that's definitely been pushed down. Because it's like, hey, people bought it, but people aren't flocking to it in droves, you know?
I think the problem with this release mostly stems from the fact that there's no like mainline Persona associated coming out this year with it, especially not Persona 4 Golden. I think a Golden announcement would have kind of saved it in the same aspect that I think Persona 5 Arena, being that it would be a brand new sequel to the Arena series, and Persona 5 has so much popularity still to this day, would do much better regardless of how Persona 4 Arena does. So I don't think it would stop them from making Persona 5 Arena, especially since there's been so much time between when the original Arena released and now. I don't think it has any impact on Persona 5 Arena.
Gotcha.
I don't know about you, but that's where I'm at.
See, my whole thing, especially after then putting so much time into Ultimax again, is if they ever go back to this concept of fighting games again, they cannot not do it with Arc System Works. Like, they can't do it with any other developer. It just won't be the same.
No, yeah, they can't, because that is like a solid engine, and it works so well with Persona. Yeah, they would have to.
I got a question for you. So, this is from Orange says, yes, it was a failure because nobody wanted it. Pointless re-release. And I've seen this before in different aspects for it. I always think it's interesting. Like, I wouldn't say this was a pointless release. I would say this was a wasted release. I would say you wasted when you released this game. I think this should have been something you held in your back pocket longer. I've been like, why couldn't this just be another game first that would have led to it being more successful? Because even though I'm not someone who's like, oh, it should have been Persona 4, I'd be lying if I said, hey, if this was Persona 4 Golden and then in this summer they released Arena with rollback netcode and people have been playing Golden for the last 4 months, I feel like that would have made a lot more sense and gotten a lot more people excited. But like, what about you? Like, would you have classified this as a pointless release?
No, and I think it coincided with the wrong Persona 4 Golden release, like you said. This basically coincides with everybody that bought Persona 4 Golden on Steam. And that number was big, but if they were going to do it coinciding with that release, they should have done it like months ago when everybody finished Golden.
And even then, the Steam audience of like hundreds of thousands of people bought it on Steam. It's like they haven't even gotten over 50,000 users. Like they're not going to see a 1-for-1 translation there. Even
no, you never will with a spin-off. Now, if they had said Persona 4 Golden is coming to PS4 on the 110 million consoles that sold it or whatever, or they sold for Sony, all of the Royal fans are probably, you're going to look at a conversion rate on there. People who liked it on the Vita probably want to see it in 1080p because it's never going to 4K. And if they had released it on the Switch would have probably been your biggest seller for Persona 4 Golden because people are willing to take any Persona mainline on Switch at this point. And that would have excited people for Arena. I think the fact that they didn't release Golden first probably did hurt the sales because people want that mainline game so badly on the Switch that they're like, nope, I ain't buying this. Like, I'm just not going to do it.
Plus, context is so important for everything. Like, half of what makes Arena a great game is knowing what these moves are referencing. What are these songs from? What are these stages about?
Yeah, when your entire audience that has played Golden is Steam, PS2, and Vita, or rather, Persona 4 at all is Steam, PS2, and Vita, and those few digital download people from the PS3 time, that audience is like basically non-existent when it comes to this space, except for the newbies on Steam.
Chris, I can't believe you're forgetting the Persona 4 Arena. The Persona 4 anime fans out there who clearly only watched the anime and then jumped into the fighting game. That's how their trajectory went.
I mean, that audience probably exists. I'm not going to say it doesn't. But that number is so
There
small.
were more people who bought Arena because of the anime than people out there who probably bought it was like, oh, cool, Persona's on the Switch. There were probably more people from the anime in that sense.
That might be true, because a lot of the anime people are also Vita owners or they're PS2 fans. There's a lot of
cross. Over 10 years old now. That is crazy.
When did the Golden version come out? Because I watched the entire Golden version of the anime.
It was either 2014 or 2015. I knew that was around Ultimax time.
Because that was interesting watching that, because somebody had pointed out chronologically how to watch the Golden version by also inserting scenes from the original series to make it make sense. It was kind of a weird watch for me, I'm not going to lie. Because there's half English, half Japanese.
You can't go into that blind. That does the opposite of like Royal. Whereas Royal subtracts the reason to ever watch the original, the Golden anime you have to watch with context of the original.
Yes. It was a bizarre watching experience for me. Now, I do think the best anime ever released for Persona was Persona 3, the 4-movie set. That is amazing.
They really Trinity Soul. It was like, Chris, don't lie to our audience like that. Come on.
No. The 4 movies of Persona 3 are some of the best produced anime.
I would say they're not like my favorite. I think they are criminally underappreciated. I think most people don't even know they exist.
Well, they're so hard to get in the first place. Like,
you
didn't even know what I had to do.
Streaming for a long time.
That's true. I forgot about that. And they were subtitled and everything.
Well, yeah, God forbid they dubbed that. No one likes Persona 3's voice actors, clearly.
Do you know that there is a Persona 3 fan project where they actually dubbed the first one?
Oh, yeah, I remember about that, yeah, because that was a big project for them. I wondered
why
they never did the rest of them.
Probably because Atlus said, don't do this, we're going to sue you or something.
Well, Atlus has no say over the anime. That's all Aniplex. Aniplex is
then Aniplex probably sued them into the ground or told them they were going to get sued into the ground for doing it.
You gotta buy buy your $500 Blu-ray box set instead.
Yeah. Well, the first one still exists somewhere. I watched that version at one point in time. I still see clips
on YouTube of it, yeah.
It was really well done for being a fan project. I was pretty happy with that.
So, all right. Second to last question, guys.
I don't think it was pointless. Just FYI, I don't think it was pointless, personally.
Yeah, for sure.
I just think it was wrong timing.
Second to last, but the final Ultimax one is by Tofik Demi. Says, if Arena adds rollback netcode this year, do you think that it'll make the game more successful? I wanted to throw this out there because I think there's a difference, though, between successful and will it keep the community alive? Because I am curious how many people are going to do that thing of, oh, hey, there's rollback netcode. They check it out, and they're like, oh, God, this is like... Because at that point, you'll have months of people who've been playing it since March. And like, I wonder how many people will view it as too intimidating, even when rollback gets added.
I think it's easier to get into a game with a smaller audience as the audience is growing. So I don't think that with the current size of the audience... other than the casuals who won't want to play with the professionals, I don't think there'll be that much of a barrier to entry per se. But I do think that if you are looking to be a professional Persona I don't know who's doing this, but if you're looking to be a Persona 4 Arena Ultimax professional, player, you're probably going to be at a disadvantage at this point. Now, I think Atlus USA could do some big service for this game by having tournaments.
I'll tell you right now, there was no plans for any more tournaments outside of their ones. They did one in Japan, one in Europe, and one in America, all for promoting the game in March. There were no plans to do any more, and they were all pretty small efforts, all things considered.
I'm just saying, like, if you could get, like, even if they're online tournaments, not in-person tournaments, if you could just get some of that going, it would definitely create a more.
I'm doing my best. I will say I've definitely been slipping because the plan is always to do weekly fight clubs, but it's like, dude, I've got so many new games right now I want to blow through. But I think now that April's going to be a lot slower, because really the only thing I'm going to be picking up this month now is going to be Switch Sports, and that's all the way to the end of the month. So I think I can start bringing those back like next weekend. So the nice thing actually is, from the less community side standpoint of things, the nice thing I liked about Fight Club is that when we did SMTN Fight Club is you can just jump into lobby, even if you don't want to play. It's no hold bars. It's super casual, no rankings. You're just sitting there. You can chat with people. You can do whatever. So, like, I think lobby mode, at least on PS4, will always kind of be a nice spot of, like, hey, you're not really here to play competitively. You're just here to have fun.
You know what would be extremely fun, though, that I just thought of as I'm sitting here, would be if we did all the members of our Atlus chat together did, like, a tournament, and, like, each week.
I tried to do that, and then because one of the fucking problems with this game, some people bought it on PC, some people bought it on Switch.
Oh yeah.
And so it just ended up being this like big bump my head into everything. Like, well, fuck. There's no crossplay. If half the people are on PC, handful are on Switch, and then I'm the only one here in lobby mode. Like, I think most people I know bought it in the community. Bought it on PS4, but I think a lot of our friends were like, oh, I'll just do it on PC so I can get my laptop, or let's get the Switch version. So it was a little bit more like all over the place, unfortunately.
That's a fair point. I was just thinking that would have been fun to do. I
tried. My plan was, let's do a launch weekend tournament with all of our friends and stuff. And then fucking when everyone was getting review codes, they were like, let's get PC! I was like, no! That's the opposite! And it was like, because they're going to be cheap asses. They're not going to fucking buy it twice.
Right. That would be, if everybody had it across all platforms, then you could be like, platform of choice, for the home team or something like that. But yeah.
I will make a group friend tournament eventually. It'll just be like, I think that'll be one of maybe when rollback gets added. Like when rollback's added,
when the game drops to
then people
$10 a platform.
Yeah, then they won't care as much about having to get everything. But yeah, like asking someone, like I'm not gonna make someone buy the game on PS4 just to play online with us, because it's just not worth it.
No, that's true. Yeah. But maybe we could get it officially sponsored by Atlus, and they could pay for the review codes. No, I'm just kidding.
Boy, that would be nice. I did ask them. I remember I did ask them. I was like, hey, because I told them, hey, I'm planning on doing a tournament and streaming this game pretty regularly. Did you guys want to do anything? And they're like, that's great. Like, all right. It's officially not endorsed, but at least they're supportive. I appreciate that at least.
Yeah, we like that. Good job.
That's a great idea, Timmy.
Sorry, did we answer the question that you posed? I don't even know.
Although you have one last question before my man, I feel like every podcast I'm ending now is like my bladder is about to explode. So
that's where I'm at.
Our question is by Demi Crow, who says, "What does the shrimp represent?"
So the shrimp is. So this is kind of funny. The podcast is the Krillcast because Chris plus Will equals Krill. CHRILL, take the first three letters of my name, last three letters of his name, his shortened nickname of Will, and my shortened nickname of Chris. Anyways, Krill gets that. And then Krill is part of the same family as the shrimp in the ocean, right? So I tried finding a nice doodle of a krill that I could make into a nice logo. And when that didn't work, I created a doodle of a shrimp instead. So same family, different animal. And that's the story of the shrimp.
When is the next Krillcast episode milestone?
Um, we're coming up on 50 since we started the live cast. Does
We
that
need
count
to
as a
do a
milestone?
live krill cast of you guys doing a shrimp boil or a krill boil.
We did do. It took a long time, but we did last year in December before we switched from or right after we switched to live. Was it live? I can't even remember if
I
it
think
was
I think
live
I
or
think it was December
pre-recorded.
around when live started. Yeah.
We did. We finally interviewed a marine biologist, which was a goal of ours for a long time, since we had an ocean animal to actually talk to somebody who works in the ocean. So that was fun.
Yeah. So then the next immediate step is then to just eat what you're named after. It's a real
Just
respectful way.
Bubba Gump shrimp, right? Straight out of the movie.
Well, Chris,
Shrimp
thank you so
kebabs.
much for letting me steal so much of your time on a hot Saturday night. Or at least I don't know what the weather is like for you guys right now, but I am absolutely sweating from how hot my room is right now.
I'm in my basement, so it's always cold.
Oh, man, I miss the basement life. But yeah, so where can people find you and Will and all the krills and everything like that?
It's pretty much Krillcast everywhere. YouTube. We're actually video on Spotify now, so if you like that,
Damn,
our
Joe Rogan
podcast
must be
is
nice.
it randomly unlocked for us, and I was like, I'm not questioning this.
Hey,
I'm just
you
gonna go
actually
with
use
it.
a camera unlike me, so
Yeah,
I can't say anything.
yeah, but YouTube, just ChrillCast. You can Google that, and all of our social media pops up. It's pretty amazing having a unique name like Krillcast because sometimes it'll autocorrect you to Chromecast, which sucks. But when you actually spell it out, ChrillCast, you will find us everywhere.
And the nice part is that anyone who's watching this on YouTube, or obviously just checks out the show notes if it's a podcast, all your guys' stuff will be down there, so you can do that. But I always do like having other people with YouTube channels on there, because then your name is literally just in the title. So anyone has
Oh,
to,
there you go.
all they gotta do is click it, and then they got the hookup.
Yeah, I still suck at figuring out how to do that, and it never works. So I got to figure out how you.
It's very hit or miss. It's always really hit or miss of when that will work. Because yeah, I have to do a lot of. I had that hurdle with Marsh because Marsh has the fucking least original name of all time. I was like, I'm YouTube. I'm looking for Marsh. You want Marshall Mathers? No, Marsh. You want Marsh Stomp? No. Oh my god.
I am not surprised, but you did eventually figure it out because I clicked on it and it took me to Marsh's YouTube channel.
By some miracle. But yeah, so all of our notes and everything, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, all that stuff below. But the one I do have to say, because they're financially backing and supporting this awesome show, or hopefully awesome show, is patreon.com/SMTN. If you'd like to get the show early, enter giveaways, or just help support the show, you can donate $1 or up to become a SMTN fan. Or if you would like to have your name read at the end of every episode, you can donate $5 or more a month, just like these wonderful people, and be a SMTN executive producer. So extra special shout out and thank you to Jagingus, Cross Rinrin, Goracero, Jazzy Jefferson, K-Horse, K-Shaka23, Patrick Dishart, Philip Meyer, C-Show, Solaire, Cameron Sharp, and everyone else. Even if you're just a regular $1 and up patron, thank you so much for donating. It really helps. If you would like to donate, please consider checking out the Patreon. But yeah, we're gonna wrap this show up and get to editing for everybody. Well, actually, I'll be getting to sleep first, and then I'll be getting to editing. But Chris, we gotta say goodbye. But I wanted to thank you one more time. So thank you for finally getting on here. I cannot believe I planned on us talking about Halo. My bladder said otherwise. So clearly we got to wait till Season 2 launches, and then we can talk about Halo.
And we'll have Will do it too with us if we're going to do that.
You know, it wouldn't have felt right. It would have been cheating without Will here. So, yeah,
but I do want to have you on to talk about the Vita here because our new co-host Andrew really wants to pick your brain about why the Vita is a good console.
Please.
And
I'm always here to defend my bad taste. So
because he is not a fan, and he's angry that Unit 13 ended his favorite Zipper studio. So that's a future preview, and shout out to Will and Andrew, my co-hosts on the Krillcast. Spencer, thank you for having me on. Really appreciate it.
No problem. But yeah, so thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you later.
Goodbye.